Alright, so there's been some debate in the comments of my videos over who the edgiest character in Super Smash Bros. Really is. Okay, actually it's only really been debated in the comments of like one video, but you know, it still had me thinking. So I figured, why don't I just try to rank all the characters in one big edgy boy tier list? That sounds like it could be fun. I have a couple of bigger videos planned, and this seems like something simple I can do in the meantime for you. Now, before we start, just please don't take this video seriously. I'm certainly not taking it all that seriously. This is just a silly, dumb little topic I'm throwing together just for fun. The rankings and categories I came up with have very little rhyme or reason to any of them, and they're entirely based on my subjective view of these characters. At the end of the day, I'm just another dork on the internet making videos about Super Smash Bros. Let's just start with the number 1 spot, which I'm going to be calling the Cunning God of Death, and it'll be entirely dedicated to Ridley. Because, come on, Cunning God of Death? How do you beat that? How the f*** do you beat that? That sounds like something I came up with in high school. Oh, but Dark Pit? No, please. Dark Pit isn't the Cunning God of Death, I'm sorry. Ridley is a sadistic, malicious, sociopathic, gargoyle-looking-ass space pirate who delights in the thrill of murder and has a barbed tail that he uses to impale people with. Next! Alright, this one I'll be calling the Bad Boys. This is basically comprised of all the evil villains who don't play by the rules. Ganondorf, of course, is going here. I mean, he is the Lord of Evil, the King of Darkness, after all. Those are some pretty decent titles you got there, Ganon, but they're not quite as creative as Ridley's, hence why he's a spot underneath. If Ridley sounds like it was created by an edgy high schooler, then Ganon's probably sounds like it was created by an edgy middle schooler. Well, I mean, Ganon would probably outrank Ridley if all the villains teamed up. In fact, that's exactly what happened in the Subspace Emissary, but that's not exactly what this list is focusing on. Dark Samus would also go here. Well, Dark Samus isn't exactly a boy, is she? Well, she isn't really a girl either. She's just kind of like a creature. Whatever, I'm still keeping the name Bad Boys, cause it sounds funny. Next we'll have Wolf, of course. Wolf is a greedy, ruthless scoundrel, often being hired to, you know, wipe out the Star Fox team. I mean, there was like that one game where Wolf actually helped Fox out, doing the whole teaming up to fight a greater evil thing, but that was only like once. For the most part, he's trying to kill Fox. And I think I'll round this spot off with King K. Rool and finally Bowser. Sure, Bowser and K. Rool can kinda be goofballs sometimes, but, you know, they're still evil at the core, which I think warrants them being up here. I'm putting K. Rool slightly above Bowser because he's like a little more unhinged. Bowser mostly has his act together, and he has a loving son that he's trying to be a responsible parent for, which does knock him down a few points, but like, when he got spiked cuffs and collars like that, he's definitely earned them back. K. Rool, on the other hand, is a goddamn madman with some kind of over-the-top multiple personality disorder. I mean, sure, most of the time he's trying to steal bananas, which is like on the level of something I'd do in middle school to feel cool. But there was that one time where his goal was to straight up murder all the inhabitants of Donkey Kong Island with a giant laser beam. So maybe he should be a spot higher than Wolf. But he's still kind of a goofball who likes to sing about f***ing exercising, I don't know. So he'll just stay here. Next we'll do the anti-heroes, starting with Meta Knight. You know, the typical edgy-looking fella who technically fights on the side of the good guys. Now I know what some of you are probably thinking. How is Meta Knight lower than King K. Rool and Bowser? I mean, when you look at Meta Knight, he's got this cape and these bat wings and a mysterious mask to hide his true identity, while Bowser and K. Rool are just kind of a couple of big knuckleheads. Well, you see, Meta Knight might have an edgier look to him, but on this list, I'm also judging on what's on the inside. Look, Meta Knight might dress in all black when he goes to school, but at the end of the day, he's still listening to his teachers, doing all his homework, and getting good grades. Meanwhile, K. Rool and Bowser are cutting class to go smoke under the stairwell or something. Okay, sure, there was like that one time where Meta Knight was kind of like a bad guy and Kirby Superstar, but that was more of like a one-time thing. Even in the fucking cartoon show, Meta Knight was always depicted as a nice guy who wants to help Kirby out, so that's why he's here. Let's see. Bayonetta, she's going here. She is a witch who gets her powers from demons and hunts angels, but again, like Meta Knight, that's all surface level stuff. Deep down, Bayonetta is someone who cares about her friends and ultimately wants to save the world from destruction and, you know, stuff like that. Plus, the angels she fights are kind of grotesque monsters, and they're like, kind of the bad guys, I think. Look, I played through both Bayonetta games multiple times, and I still don't give a shit about what's going on in the plot. In fact, when I play these games now, I just skip through all the cutscenes, because they are really long. Look, when I play these games, I want to be Bayonetta. I don't want to watch Bayonetta. Now we get to Wario, and I don't even know. He's kind of like an anti-hero. His actions are entirely motivated by his own greed, but unlike Wolf, whose greed causes him to align himself with giant evil monkey heads, Wario often ends up inadvertently saving people and sometimes entire civilizations through his actions. Actually, now that I think about it, I feel like that's only really happened like 3 times. Most of the time, Wario's either hunting for treasures on his own or trying to scam people through microgames. He also initially served as the villain in the little Game Boy game he was introduced in, and he aligned himself with the side of darkness and the Subspace Emissary. Wolf didn't even do that. He was off like shitting in the woods or something while that was happening. Also, Wario would definitely be the kind of kid to cut class and not do his homework. But then again, he's not really like an evil take over the world kind of villain like the rest of these guys are. You know, I have no idea where to put Wario. So, he'll be getting his own tier in between these two. I'll call it the, I don't know, f***ing Wario tier. And finally, going back to anti-heroes, this is where I'm placing Dark Pit. If I remember right, he was not much of a villain in the Kid Icarus Uprising game. Wasn't he, like, plopped out of a magic mirror by the villains, and they were all like, ha 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 ha, you work for us now. But then he was like, I don't work for anyone. And then just kind of strutted around like a big walking anime cliche throughout most of the games. Like, he would butt heads with Pit a couple of times because, I mean, when your name is Dark Pit, I guess that's just something you gotta do. But when the big bad Hades villain showed up, Dark Pit was like, I guess I'll help you guys now. I hope I'm remembering that right, because it's been a while since I've played that game. See, Dark Pit's the kind of kid that'll occasionally give his teachers some attitude, but at the end of the day, he's still listening to them and doing all his homework. The next category will be the tragic backstory. These are the characters who have some kind of dark, troubled past for them to brood and angst all over. First, we'll go with Mewtwo. I remember seeing that he was like some sort of test tube baby, created in a lab with a bunch of other test tube baby friends. Like, a bunch of scientists were trying to clone some shit, and all the other clones died out, and he was the only survivor, and he was all lonely. Then he woke up and he was all confused and angry, he killed a bunch of people, was used by a bunch of people, and then all he wanted to do was know the true purpose of his existence. Well, also, he kinda tried to take over the world with an army of clones, and he has like all these dark shadow powers in Smash, so maybe he belongs up here. But then again, he did have a big change of heart by the end of the story, didn't he? Also, the Church of England has referred to Mewtwo as an example of a good Christian role model, so that's gotta knock him down some points on the edge scale. Then there's Cloud, of course. I've never played Final Fantasy VII and know very little about Cloud, but I know he's gotta have some kind of tragic past. I feel like I don't even have to research it. I mean, just look at him. This broody motherfucker definitely has a dark background. But I suppose if I'm making a video on the subject, I guess I'll research into it a little bit. Yeah, he belongs here. Also, Rob is going here because, I mean, have you read the Subspace Emissary backstory? This Rob we play as in Smash, He was the leader of an isolated pacifist group of Robs who were living in peace and harmony until Taboo comes along and takes the entire island hostage, forcing them to use their technology for his evil plots, and Rob had to go along with it in order to, as the wiki words it, avoid the presumably threatened genocide should they refuse. What the f*** even are you, Subspace? Then Taboo and the other villains have the Robs going around and detonating these subspace bombs, delving the world into the darkness of the subspace and sacrificing themselves in the process for a cause they don't believe in. Meanwhile, the Master Rob dons himself in these robes in order to hide his shame from his people. Then eventually Rob has enough of this and urges the rest of his kind to stop, at which point Ganondorf takes control of their bodies and has them firing upon their leader and activating all the subspace bombs in unison. At this point, there was no stopping this, and with the imminent death of his people, Rob sees no point in going on, wishing to die with the rest of them. But then Donkey Kong was just like, ook ook, and picks up Rob anyway, so yeah, that's some shit. Next up, we have the Edgy Pranksters tier. These are the kind of characters that, back when the fad was huge, would have definitely created their own edgy YouTube prank channel. Not really take over the world kind of stuff, but definitely using this as an excuse to be an obnoxious nuisance in public, showing no remorse or sympathy for the people they're pranking. They're definitely the kind of characters that would get arrested for causing a panic with a fake art gallery heist prank. Or maybe they just fake them all, taking advantage of other people's stupidity, I don't know. Bowser Jr. has to go here. I mean, look at this little shit. While Papa's out kidnapping princesses, he's definitely coming up with ways to bump up his YouTube channel by any means necessary. Now, they don't have actual icons here for the rest of the Koopalings, but if they did, this is probably where I put them. Except for Iggy. If he was here, I'd probably have to make a new tier called Definitely Has Some F***ed Up Fetishes, but since he isn't, I don't have to do that. I can definitely see King DDD doing this. He'd be all like, "Hey, what's happening, subjects? It's your king, coming at you with the stealing people's food and eating it in front of them prank. Make sure you DDD-stroy that like button." That was my best DDD impression right there. Although he'd 100% switch to doing social experiments when that became the big thing. Also, we got Inklings. They're just a group of little troublemakers going around and spreading their graffiti everywhere. They also seem to be very hip and trendy, so they would for sure hop on a bandwagon like this. Okay, after that let's go with the Dark-type Pokemon. Now, Pokemon aren't typically all that edgy, but there are a few exceptions. However, they're not usually the Dark types. Everyone knows that Ghost is the type for the real edgy boys and girls. But unfortunately, there are no Ghost types in Smash, so we'll have to make do with Dark. I mean, being categorized as Dark must mean something, right? Let's just take a look at these Pokédex entries real quick. Huh. There's not really much to Greninja here. It does say it likes to toy with its enemies while slicing them with sharp water, so hey, that's something. Not really much compared to draining people of their souls and using them to keep their flames burning, but compared to what we have in Smash, it's something. Ah, here we go. Incineroar's is a bit better. This Pokemon has a violent, selfish disposition. If it's not in the mood to listen, it will ignore its trainer's orders with complete nonchalance. Now that's what I'm talking about. He's going above Greninja. And here we have the Miis. They're like the wild cards of this game. Depending on what you make of them, they can either be as edgy as Adolf Hitler or my OC, or they can be as unedgy as, say, Bob Ross, or you, or me. Look, I might have edgy in my name, but all I really do is make videos on Super Smash Bros. Next category is the characters that have no concept of good or evil. Which, you know, sounds pretty hardcore, right? Mr. Game & Watch is a strange creature. He was kind of helping the villains in the Subspace Emissary, but he didn't really seem to know what he was doing. He had, like, no clear motives and just kinda seemed to be along for the ride, I think. I mean, the same could be said about Wario, but Wario at least knew he was being a dick and just wanted to go around causing trouble. Game & Watch, on the other hand, I don't know. You can't really get a read on the guy. He does later join the good guys, not really because he wants to do what's right, but because Peach piqued his amusement by letting him f*** around with her umbrella. At least I think that's what happened. Also, according to the wiki, since Game & Watch is a two-dimensional creature, this gives him unusual properties that Taboo uses to create all these shadow bug things. God, Subspace is so much fun to analyze. I'm also putting Piranha Plant here. I've explained this before, but I've never really seen the Piranha Plants as being henchmen of Bowser. I just always saw them as these wild creatures that are defending their territory. Hence why you can, like, pick one up in Mario 3D World and use it against other enemies. I mean, if we're going by my characterization of Piranha Plant, he's a sad, lonely boy who really wants friends but is incapable of making any, but, you know, I don't exactly think that's canon. Now, I'm kind of tempted to put Duck Hunt Dog here, because he's, like, an animal. But he isn't really just a dog, is he? He's like a cartoony dog who likes to laugh at other people's failures. So I guess I'd put him up with the pranksters. But would Duck Hunt Dog really make a prank channel? I feel like he's more likely to just leave mean comments on the videos, or... Oh my god, I got it. There we go, that's your spot, Duck Hunt. Next category, the Salty Spittoon. Here we're starting to get into some of the characters who are pretty much straight up good guys, but they're like tough as nails good guys. The kind who could get into a place like the Salty Spittoon. Captain Falcon, Ike, Simon, these are all like poster boys for the place right here. Richter, he's kind of more like a pretty boy version of Simon, but yeah, I still think he'd fit. Ryu and Ken? Definitely. These fuckers walk around everywhere barefoot. They don't give a fuck. Samus? Yeah, she'd get in. Well, actually, she might belong in the tragic backstory tier. Her parents were murdered in front of her by this asshole. Yeah, but then again, she doesn't really let her tragic past define her like fucking Rob does. I'm just keeping her down here because I like it more. Same goes with Fox. His dad was killed by Andross and all that, but he mostly keeps a cheery, upbeat attitude. Despite that though, I still think he could get into the Salty Spittoon. Same with Falco, because they're like, you know, space mercenaries. Come on. Snake, of course? Wait. Actually, he might belong in the tragic backstory pile too. I mean, Snake's seen some shit in his games. Him being like a clone of this other guy, and a rapidly aging, slowly dying one at that. But does Snake really brood over it all that much? I mean, I've never really played the games, but I somewhat know the story. Admittedly not enough to make this judgment, but f*** it. I just want to put Snake underneath Duck Hunt Dog in the Mies, because that would be funny. Okay, this next one might be a bit silly, but I think Donkey Kong could probably get into the Salty Spittoon. I mean, think about it. A giant talking gorilla? He could probably beat the shit out of half of the people there. Just don't do any singing, Donkey Kong, yeah. You might get some funny looks. Let's see, is there anyone else I'd put here? Do I really need to include Zero Suit Samus? She's like the same exact character, just not wearing the power suit. Yeah, I'll just leave her down here. It makes it look a little less cluttered. Ooh, Little Mac. Yeah, he's like a scrappy kid from the Bronx. He's taken out goddamn Mike Tyson before. He'd get in. Now we get to the heroes, just the typical good guys who aren't quite rough and tough enough to get into the Salty Spittoon. This is where I'm putting Roy, Chrom, Lucina, Shulk, Sonic. I mean, Sonic was edgy in, like, the 90s, but now he's just still 90s edgy, which doesn't really work anymore. Mario? I mean, Mario's done his fair share of beating the shit out of people, so he might be able to get into the salty spittoon, but I don't think he'd even want to go there. Same with the Links. Just all the Links. They're going here. Do I really have to add Dr. Mario? Nah. Mega Man, Marth, Lucario, he is just a Pokemon, but apparently he can talk. And he definitely had some solid morals, allying himself with the good guys in subspace. Robin, Peach, Daisy. Oh, this one actually confused me for like half a second. Nobody uses Malcorin, so I kind of forget he exists. Olimar. Well, Olimar isn't exactly a hero. In the first game, he was just a guy who crash-landed on an alien planet and needed to repair his ship. And in the second one, he was just collecting treasures to earn a profit, having these little creatures sacrifice themselves for the sake of his company. Okay, I know I'm sounding like a fucking game theory here, and don't worry, I'm not putting Olimar up here with these guys. It's not like he's mean to the Pikmin, he likes them and treats them alright. But with some of the shit he's seen, and having to fight for survival on a hostile alien planet, I think that bumps Olimar up to the salty spittoon level. Not Alf, though. If Alf were here, he'd be at this level. He was just collecting fruits. Sheik, Zelda, Wii Fit Trainer? Well, Wii Fit Trainer isn't really a hero either. She's just a yoga instructor, but f*** it. I'm not making a new section just for Wii Fit Trainer. Okay, I'm totally making a new section just for Wii Fit Trainer. Diddy Kong? Yeah, sorry Diddy. You're just not as impressive as Donkey. Palutena thinks she's cool and edgy, but really she's just like a lame mom who makes fourth wall breaking jokes to look cool in front of her son. And, yeah, I'll put the Pokemon trainer here too. They've stopped a crime boss and some shit like that. Okay, I just want to say, Joker isn't out yet, but I know this is exactly where I'd put him. So, just, pretend he's there. And finally, if we have a salty spittoon tier, then we gotta have a Weenie Hut. Isabelle, of course, goes to the Weenie Hut, as does Kirby, Lucas, Ness, Ice Climbers, obviously. They'd share a hot dog, and it would look really cute. Pikachu, Pichu, Jigglypuff, Luigi, probably. Pac-Man, definitely. I mean, just look at that weenie. Rosalina, I'm putting here just because of the Lumas. She'd take the Lumas on one big Weenie Hut field trip and just have a grand old time. Pit feels like he belongs here. And you know what? Just to annoy Palutena fans, let's bring her down as well. She'd only come with Pit, and they'd get into a funny conversation about how Pit needs to switch his bow into Wombo mode or something like that. Villager goes here, and I think, last but not least, it's Yoshi. Yeah, make the tax evasion jokes all you want. Yoshi belongs here, and you know it. And there you have it. This right here is, the result of what I spent the last 20 minutes on. I'm gonna go think over all the decisions I've made in life that have led to this moment here, so yeah. Have a good one.